You wake up, you function, you perform. But somewhere between the alarm and the pillow, something went missing. Not your health, not your career, not the people around you. Something quieter than all of that. The sense that you are actually living. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in human history. He had everything civilization could offer. And still, he wrote alone, at night, wrestling with the same hollow feeling you carry right now. Seneca built more wealth than most men could imagine, and confessed privately that time was bleeding through his fingers. Epictetus owned nothing, was given nothing, had everything taken from him, and became the freest man in Rome. 3 men, 3 completely different lives, 1 brutal discovery. The life you are waiting for will never arrive from the outside. It has to be rebuilt. From the inside. Deliberately, painfully, completely. There are 3 rules that make that rebuilding possible. Not as philosophy, as practice, not as motivation, as architecture. This is where it begins. Marcus Aurelius wrote something most people read and forget. He said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But here is what he meant beneath the words. Your mind is not neutral ground. Every morning you wake up, something is already fighting for it. Notifications, noise, other people's urgency dressed up as your own. And most people never notice the invasion, because it happens slowly, comfortably, pleasantly. You don't lose your mind in one dramatic moment. You surrender it in 1,000 small ones. The first move is not motivation. It is detoxification. Your thoughts are downstream of what you consume. Feed the mind poison and expect poison back. For the next 7 days, the first 30 minutes of every morning belong to you alone. Not to your phone, not to the news, not to anyone else's version of reality. Read the men who walked through fire and came out with something worth saying. Study what sharpens the mind the way a blade is sharpened. Deliberately, with friction. Call it training, because that is exactly what it is. The second move is identity before outcome. Most people set goals. The Stoics built selves. There is a fundamental difference between wanting to change and deciding who you are. When you say, "I want to be disciplined," you are standing outside discipline looking in. When you say, "I am someone who honors the promises I make to myself," you are already inside it. The Stoics called this the ruling faculty, the part of you that decides what everything else means. Retrain that, and behavior follows automatically, without force, without willpower wars. Write this sentence down and finish it honestly. I am becoming the person who, not someday, not when circumstances change. Today, in this moment, with this next decision. The third move is the hardest one. You have to look directly at the walls you built yourself. I cannot. I am not ready. It is too late. I am not the kind of person who. These are not facts. They are agreements, quiet surrenders you made under pressure and forgot to revoke. Epictetus called this assent. The moment the mind agrees with the lie the fear is telling. Withdraw the assent. That is the entire practice. Take the 3 beliefs that hold you most tightly. Write them down without flinching. Then rewrite each one as a precise, honest statement of where you are actually going. Not positive thinking, accurate thinking, directed thinking, stoic thinking. Every rewritten belief is a crack in a wall that was never meant to be permanent. Marcus Aurelius wrote his deepest thoughts before dawn, then rose and led armies. He did not wait to feel ready. He did not negotiate with comfort. He understood something behavioral science has since confirmed. The body is not separate from the mind. It is the mind's instrument, its foundation, its proof of concept. You cannot think with sovereignty while living inside a body you are at war with. The first principle is awareness before perfection. Every meal is a decision about who you are becoming, not a moral decision, not a shame decision, a directional one. Before you eat, ask one question. Does this bring me closer to the person I have decided to become, or does it keep me exactly where I am? That single question, asked honestly and consistently, rewires the relationship between choice and identity. You are not dieting, you are practicing discernment. Every day, at every table. The second principle is protection of recovery. Seneca warned that we do not have too little time. We waste what we are given. Every hour of sleep you trade for distraction is borrowed against tomorrow's clarity. No great work was ever built on a depleted nervous system. 7 to 8 hours is not indulgence. It is the Stoic practice of maintaining the instrument. A warrior does not fight with a dull sword and call it discipline. Protect your rest the way you protect your purpose, because they are the same thing. The third principle is movement as command. Emotion does not live in the mind alone. It lives in the body, stagnant mind, stagnant life. When anxiety rises, move. When anger builds, run. When clarity disappears, lift something heavy and breathe. Epictetus was physically broken his entire life and taught that no great thing is created suddenly. 20 minutes every day. No equipment required. No perfect conditions required. The movement itself is almost irrelevant. What matters is the message you send to your own nervous system. I am still in command here. That message, repeated daily, becomes the most important belief you hold. The fourth principle is voluntary discomfort. The Stoics practice this deliberately, not as punishment, as preparation. Seneca slept on stone floors by choice, not because he had to, because he needed to know he could. Comfort, chosen automatically and without reflection, teaches the nervous system one thing: that you will always choose the easier path when pressure arrives. And pressure always arrives. Start with something small. A cold shower, an early morning, a meal without sugar, a run when you would rather sit. Each small act of chosen discomfort is a deposit into an account called self-trust, and that account is the only one that pays dividends when everything else collapses. There is a specific kind of emptiness that has nothing to do with what you lack. It arrives when everything looks acceptable from the outside, and something essential is missing from the inside. Not excitement, not pleasure, not even happiness. Meaning, connection. The sense that what you do with your hours actually matters. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the cliff against which the waves break continuously. It stands, and around it the boiling waters fall still." A strong heart is not one that never breaks. It is one that remains open after breaking. That is the hardest thing a person can do. The first practice is silence without escape. Sit still. No phone, no music, no productive task to hide inside. Then ask yourself 3 questions, and do not move until you answer them honestly. If failure were impossible, how would I be living right now? What am I pretending not to care about, that I actually care about deeply? When no one is watching and nothing is required of me, who am I? The answers that tighten your chest are the ones that matter. That tightening is not weakness. It is your inner life trying to be heard above the noise you have been using to drown it out. Write down what you hear. Those words are not thoughts. They are instructions. The second practice is the deliberate release of weight. Your heart is carrying things that were never meant to be permanent. Anger that outlived its usefulness. Guilt that has been rehearsed so many times it feels like identity. Regret dressed as wisdom. Epictetus said it directly. It is not what happens to you that determines your suffering. It is what you agree to hold on to afterward. For 30 consecutive nights, write down one thing you are releasing. A person, a version of yourself, a story you have been telling about what happened and what it means. Forgiveness is not a gift you give to someone who hurt you. It is the act of putting down a weight you were never designed to carry indefinitely. Weightlessness is not weakness. It is the precondition for movement. The third practice is purpose through action. A heart without direction will drift toward numbness. Every time, without exception. The Stoics understood that meaning is not discovered passively. It is constructed actively. Pay attention to when you feel most alive, not most comfortable, most alive. When you help someone navigate something difficult. When you build something that did not exist before. When you tell a truth that costs you something. Those moments are not accidents. They are data. The compass of your interior life, pointing toward the work you were built to do. Start with one action. One person helped. One honest thing created. One act of service that asks nothing in return. A heart that gives without calculation does not run empty. It expands, slowly, quietly, permanently. These three rules are not separate disciplines. They form a single architecture. Fix the mind, and you give the body direction. Train the body, and you build the capacity the heart needs to stay open. Open the heart, and you restore the fire that keeps the mind sovereign. Mind, body, heart. Each one the foundation of the other. When one collapses, the structure fractures. When all three move with intention, something shifts that cannot be undone. Marcus Aurelius battled anxiety in private. Seneca doubted himself in letters he almost did not send. Epictetus lost everything external a man can lose. None of them arrived at philosophy. They built it, under pressure. In real time, with real consequences. They were not extraordinary men who had access to these truths. They were ordinary men who practiced these truths until they became extraordinary. Transformation does not arrive as an event. It accumulates as a practice. One morning, one choice, one honest question answered without flinching. Repeated until the person asking the question is no longer the same person who started. You were not built to drift through your own life watching it happen to you. You were built for something that requires more of you than comfort will ever ask. The three rules are not a system. They are an invitation to stop waiting for circumstances to improve and start becoming the kind of person that circumstances cannot break. That work begins now. Not tomorrow, not after the next difficulty passes. Now. In this silence, with this breath, with the very next decision you make.